So,
Yeah, I don't know what it does either.
okay, we're recording.
Okay. Hey everyone, I'm Michelle Lee with Michelle Lee Coaching, the Women's Concierge Coach, and I'm here with my very good friend and colleague, Careyann Golliver, the America's Franchise Matchmaker. And we're here to do some myth busting about what it means to have a franchise. Welcome, Careyann.
Hi, Michelle. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm so excited about our conversation.
Me too. Me too. You and I got to talking one day and we were talking about the myths around franchises. And I'm just absolutely enamored with what you do. And when we talked about some of the myths, I was like, oh yeah, those I felt that way myself. So I would love to hear your story about how you got into franchise work.
Yeah, well, it's, we all have a story, right? Some of us like to share our stories, but our stories are important. So, just to kind of rewind the tape quite a bit, years and years and years ago. I mean, because I've been in franchising for over 20 years. But really, how I really got introduced into franchising, Michelle, is my brother-in-law, my sister, and we started a business literally in the basement of their house back in the late 90s. So my background, I was always in sales and marketing, really thrived in those startup companies because I just love the feeling of creating something from scratch and nurturing it and then, bringing it to the world. But the frustration was I wasn't fully in control. Right? There was always some Yahoo that screwed something up, and then you'd go to show up for work and the business was closed. So it was like really like a revolving scenario. So was having dinner with my family and friends and drinking some great wine and having some good food and having the conversation of what do I want to do when I grow up, right? And even today, still have those conversations with lots of people. And so we actually created a business idea that night and just took off. And we created, it first began in its infancy stage, it was a swamp cooler repair and maintenance company. And for those of you that don't know what a swamp cooler is, we refer to it as the poor man's air conditioning unit. We love it here in Colorado where it's so dry, right? Because it has that, and Arizona too would be nice because it has that nice moisture in your air. So we started with that, but what we noticed was, gosh, people were so excited when my brother-in-law showed up. They were like, oh, he actually showed up. And he actually has a uniform and he's nicely dressed. And they didn't want him to leave. They wanted him to work on carpentry and drywall and plumbing and electrical. So it morphed into a full-blown handyman business. Wow. And so we listened to what our community wanted, which I think is a really important lesson, because we were like, what is going on? Why can't anybody else find, why can't Grandma Sally find someone to take care of her garbage disposal? And back in the late 90s, there was no such thing as a no-call list. So we opened up the phone book and we just randomly called 300 and some odd people and said, hey, do you have a handyman service? Would you like to have a handyman service? What are the things that you'd like that handyman service to do? And most importantly, what are you willing to pay for those services? And that is, honest to goodness, how we built the business model. Listening to our community and ingesting and absorbing what they said they needed that wasn't being met in the community, because the bar, we know, is so pathetically low out there. Yes. So we did that and we were having great success, and we had other friends that were like, what in the world are you guys doing over there? I want to do this, right? So we'd carve out territory for them in Boulder, and we'd say, okay, this is what we did, and start hiring your craftsmen. And then, here's an area in West Denver. And honest to goodness, someone came to us and said, you guys should think about franchising your business. And we were like, what? Like, what's that all about? So we learned about franchising, and we thought, wow, how fascinating that we could take our business model that obviously has been proven here in Colorado, multiple locations. So we kind of know what we're doing. And let's put together a scenario where other people can escape corporate America and become the boss and employ people in their own community and help little Grandma Sally's everywhere with their garbage disposal, right? So that's what we did. So we ended up franchising our business in the latter part of 2001. And really the rest is history. I mean, we skyrocketed. We were the top national handyman franchise for several years. And last September 2019, Ace Hardware, Ace is the place, they acquired the franchise. So it was a very magical roller coaster learning experience and ride. You know, and I learned a lot, Michelle, through that experience. I learned, number one, if you like your family, it's probably not a good idea to be in business with them. I mean, you know, if you don't like them, go for it. No, I mean, obviously it does work for some families. I mean, look at the Tabasco family with, I don't know how many, you know, 5th, 9th generation running that. But I got to tell you, it puts a lot of strain on the family, you know. I mean, you're sitting around at Thanksgiving dinner, passing the sweet potatoes, talking about business. Like the lines get blurred. The other thing that I learned was it still wasn't all mine. I still didn't have all the authority to make all the decisions, and I didn't always see eye to eye with the other members. And so I also saw that there was a huge void when people would come to get approved to buy our franchise. We would specifically ask them, you know, why do you want to be a business owner? Number one. And number two, why do you want to buy this business? Mm-hmm. And we got some really scary answers sometimes. I mean, you know, well, my wife says I'm handy in the garage and, you know, no, right? Because we were not looking for the craftsman. We're looking for business sense, not, you know, hands on, heads on, I guess is the term, not hands on, right? Because you can't build a business if you're doing everything, right? So I saw there was a huge need of people being able to be guided and matched with the franchise opportunities that are going to take advantage of their skill sets, their DNA that they have had and do well at. And so, ta-da, that's how I become America's franchise matchmaker. And, you know, all my services are complimentary. Nobody pays me for my services because the franchise, you know, franchising is a very small world. We all know each other. And I know that I take tremendous pride in the franchise organizations that I represent because they're not all created equal, just like any other group out there. There are some amazing opportunities to become your boss and mitigate your risk with a franchise, but there's also a lot of crapola out there. And we're talking about an investment like real estate, like stocks and bonds, right? So it's very importante that people do their homework and they're not wasting their time, because time, let's face it, is the one commodity we cannot make more of, right? I mean, I would love to go, oh, here's 2 more hours on a Tuesday. That's not how it works, right? Unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, right? Because I would maybe never even leave Tuesdays. But but the point is that you want to protect. I tell people, protect your time. Goodness sakes, protect your time, and quite honestly, your attitude with your life, right? Mm-hmm. Those things should not be wasted. So don't just look at something just to be looking at something. Don't go to Google. Don't ask your friends or family, because you might not get the right guidance. Outside advisement's very scary, right? Right. So that's kind of, you know, what I do, where I came from. I'm a Colorado native. I'm a mountain girl. The mountains are always calling me. And I feel truly blessed literally, that I'm changing people's lives every day and having them have the ability to look at abundant possibilities, especially right now in today's climate where there is so much uncertainty, helping them gain back some dignity and control, and if they're going to play the victim, shame on them, right? Because this is no better time than to look at how can you do self-improvement, how can you change what you're not happy with, stop your grumbling and start taking action.
There you go. I love
Yeah.
that. I love that. And so let's do some myth busting.
Yes.
When I first met you and you were sharing with me what you do, I was like, really? Franchise is a career option? I had never thought of that before. So can you share a little bit about that? Why is a franchise considered a great career option? That had never occurred to me.
Yes, I know. Well, a lot of people never think about franchising as an actual investment vehicle, right? So when you become a franchise owner, it's a mind shift. So instead of being the specialist or the employee, you elevate yourself to either the CEO or the president. And I've actually created a video talking about, and you are very familiar with it being a business owner as I am, this little thing called owner's benefit. It is so remarkable, but a lot of people don't understand there are so many benefits, legal benefits of being a business owner. You can write off a portion of your mortgage. You can write off your cell phone, your internet. If you have small children, you have to put them in daycare. You can write off daycare. You can write off parking. You can write off meals and entertainment legally. There's shareholders distribution. There's all kinds of ways to create very important tax shelters. Now, when you are the employee, you have less risk, meaning you didn't pay to have that job, or maybe you did because every day you're going to work for somebody, you are renting your time and your talent to build wealth for somebody else who shows you no loyalty, right? They could and would get rid of you in a heartbeat, right?
Mhm.
And we've seen that through this, however many, seems like 9 years, but whatever, of the pandemic. So people being furloughed, people just, their positions are automatically eliminated or cut. And these people have, some of my candidates haven't even taken vacation in 4 years with their family.
Wow.
And I'm like, how are you still married? So many personal sacrifices. So when you take control and you say, I'm going to hire myself, I'm going to invest in myself, and I'm going to partner with a franchisor who's going to be my business partner every day, all the time, who's going to train me, who's going to support me, who's going to provide me a proven model, who's going to have the HR, the technology, the support, everything that I need to be successful, because they are dependent on you being successful. And all I have to do is execute, and I get to keep the majority of the margin. And I'm creating an asset, a real true asset that's mine, that I could create as a legacy down the road for children, or sell as a nice multiple and retire and go hike the Appalachian trails or go live in Spain for 3 years. You have a built-in exit strategy. With a job, you have a paycheck, period.
Right.
That's all you have.
Right.
So I honestly think, Michelle, during this global pandemic, the silver lining is that it has absolutely forced people to pause.
Mm-hmm.
We had we had no choice. We had to. And we were in shock. And then when we came out of shock, we were like, shit, we got to do something different, right? Because this ain't working anymore. I talk to women who, just absolutely have never been happier being able to work from home and spend all this time with their children.
Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, a paycheck versus building an asset that you own, where you're in control, you're in no control over here. You're creating a legacy. You're creating important tax shelters. You're creating wealth for yourself. Here, you're still just getting a paycheck. You're dealing with all the corporate BS, all the politics that surround that environment. And again, you're renting out your time and your talent, and we know you can't get this time back, to someone who doesn't really care about you.
Yeah. I love what you say about going into a franchise. You actually have teammates. You know,
Yeah,
they are
not alone.
supporting you. You're not alone. So it's not like they're hoping you fail. They want you to succeed. So you're
Need you.
completely,
Yeah.
they need you to succeed. So their success is your success. So I love that you're saying that, and putting that together with what you said at the top of this conversation is that you are closely connected to your franchises, that you are matchmaking individuals or families with. So that's just like, that takes a whole weight off right there.
Oh, we're doing all the heavy lifting. Absolutely. Absolutely. And so, we know their successful track record. We know their ideal person that they're looking for. We know the areas that they're looking to develop and expand into. And so I make it fun. And I tell people, when we work together, you come to every conversation completely selfish. Like, I don't want you to settle or compromise on a single thing, because you don't need to, and I'm not going to allow you to. And sometimes they slip back a little bit during our conversation, and I have to remind them, but remember, you're not going to settle or compromise. So you tell me what you want and need and what your goals and dreams are, and I will find the business for you. And so, it's all about, I tell my candidates, look, we're going to go on some blind dates with some franchise companies, right? We're going to have some courtship, and you may or may not get to the altar. But what you will absolutely gain working with me is a better clarity of who you are and what you want, and what might be a better path if franchising is not the right path. And you will also absolutely know how to do proper due diligence on a business. So if now is not the right time, and maybe 3 years later you say it is the right time, you're going to remember our journey and our process. 9 times out of 10, hopefully you're going to call me and say, because I ain't going nowhere. And you can call me and say, hey, I get these calls, not as often as I would love, but I do get these calls frequently. Hey, remember us, Careyann? You worked with us 3 years ago. It wasn't the right time. Well, guess what? It is the right time, because it is all about timing as well.
Yeah.
So they're going to have knowledge that they didn't have to pay for, and the experience is going to be a lot of fun, and they'll really, really get a lot out of it.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah. I love that. Okay. So for myth number 2, especially during this time, is buying a franchise really a good option right now during this worldwide pandemic? Isn't that too risky?
Oh, I love that question. Woo! Yay! I'm so glad you asked that question, because franchising is not an industry. It's not an industry, so it's not affected by a pandemic. It's not affected by, 2008 wasn't so great for small businesses, but for franchising, guess what? It soared. Back at 9/11, and yes, those were different scenarios, because it wasn't, this is a health related scenario. But I'm telling you, franchising, when the economy is in the crapper, franchising soars, because people go, I'm done. I will not get laid off again. I am now going to be the boss, right? And so it puts a little fire under their hiney, right? And then they're like, okay, this is it. This is it. This is it. So this is the right time. And so franchising not being an industry, it's not affected by all these negatives swarming around. In fact, I mean, money couldn't be any cheaper right now. for people to loan to get into business, which that's what people do. Smart business people use OPM, other people's money, right? That's why they have money. And so you don't have to bet the farm when you're buying a franchise either, FYI. But I tell you, this has been just an amazing year for me. I mean, I've been on the consultant side for 9 years, and I've never had a busier summer. Never. I mean,
Wow.
normally summers have their normal distractions. People are going on vacations, there's weddings, there's, trips to the Bahamas. People are still getting married, people are still going on vacation, but it's very different, right? And so most of my placements this last 10 months, I mean, record April, record March, amazing June, August was fantastic. Here's the thing. People are saying, help me find an Amazon pandemic recession-proof business. And does it actually exist? Yes, there are thousands of opportunities out there that are low investment, are needs-based. So that means they're not a luxury spend. And some of the people that I put into business, it took them from the time that they purchased their franchise to when they opened their doors, less than a month.
Wow.
Less than a month. I had a woman in Virginia. She bought a franchise the end of April. She went to training in May. She opened her doors June 1. I mean, incredible. And she was so happy, right? So it doesn't take forever. And, my journey that I take people through for the exploration is about a 90-day journey. And a lot of people go, wow, that seems kind of fast. It's like, well, no, it really is not. I mean, the franchisors that I work with have a very streamlined process. Their job is to get people into business. That's what their job is to do every day, because that's how they grow. Recession resistant, there's nothing out there recession proof, let's face it, right? But we can get pretty darn close. So recession resistant, Amazon proof, needs based, so not a luxury spend. Excuse me. So these are businesses that people have to have in order to live comfortably. So think in the lines of death and taxes. It's all going to happen to us, right? So same sort of scenario, like the woman I was speaking to you about in Virginia, she bought a plumbing franchise. She is not a plumber, nor does she need to be a plumber to be successful. And she is doing exceptionally well.
I love that. I love that you say that, because it's like an infinite possibilities that are available to people right now, when it looks like, with the pandemic, that our possibilities are being narrowed and are shrinking down. And what I'm hearing from you is that you're just looking in the wrong direction.
You're looking at the wrong things, right? So I can help align your vision and your path. I had a video testimonial just posted on my website not long ago. A gentleman, he was poking around and looking on the internet for 2 years. He's like, Careyann, I basically wasted 2 years of my life, and you found me the best franchise. He bought a tree cutting franchise, and he's a rock star, right? And he's like, not only was it a great franchise for me, it was a franchise I had never heard of, never even thought I should look at, but working with you helped me keep an open mind. And he goes, and not only that, and you can watch the testimonial, but he's like, it's a pandemic proof business, right? I mean, because Corona ain't got nothing over trees.
Right.
They still need to be trimmed. They still need to be taken care of. They still need to be cut, so are we going to look at restaurants? Probably not, right? I mean, there's a lot of reasons why it's hard for me to get excited about food unless I'm hungry on the business side to begin with. But, are we, it's people are interested in franchising, I think, year round, but based on current climates and situations that are going on, we'll shift and adjust the types of businesses that they're looking at. If they have a smart coach like me, and they know, hey, everyone thinks, oh, McDonald's, Chick-fil-A, right? And you know what? Those businesses, those businesses are fine, but at the end of the day, would you like a business where you can start it in less than 1 month? It's going to cost you a fraction of what those businesses cost. And it's not just French fries when we're talking about franchising, right?
Beautiful, beautiful. Love that. Okay, so for our final myth, and the number one myth that's been in my brain all along, is the money. Don't you have to be rich to buy a franchise? I mean, the first one that comes to my mind is McDonald's.
Okay.
And wouldn't that be like $1 million or something?
Yeah, they're very, very expensive. And to be honest, if you wanted to buy McDonald's, you probably have to go to China. Because the people in the United States that own McDonald's are holding on to them. They're not getting rid of them, right? So, no, that's a great point. Again, my opinion is smart business people use OPM, other people's money. When I work with anyone, my goal for them is to spend as little of their own money as possible. And incur some smart debt. Now, if you're just getting a loan to get, to go have retail therapy every day, that's bad debt. It'd be a lot of fun, but it's not a good idea. But if you go into debt to take that debt and increase your overall income, that's what we mean by smart debt. So I pride myself in not only working with the best of the best franchise organizations out there, but I also work with the best funding professionals. So when I'm working with people, we have to be anchored by reality. It's so important to make sure that if I'm talking to someone who has, an appetite for a Ferrari, but their budget is for Honda, we got to somehow meet in the middle, right? Because reality is what reality is. And to look at a business and get super excited about something that you don't even financially qualify for is what? Ding, ding, ding. It's a waste of your time, right? We just talked about that. Stop wasting your time. So these funding people really help them understand, hey, here's your current situation, and here's what all kinds of funding options might look like for you and are available. So I tell you what, a lot of people are doing home equity lines because they're refinancing because of the pandemic. Everybody and their brother is refinancing because they're getting at least half a point to a point off their mortgage. Mm-hmm. That takes, that's going to take, 3-4 months because everybody and their brother is refinancing. But if you start that process early, and our process is about 3 months, it could line up, right? A lot of people are doing a home equity line. Home equity line, grabbing some line of credit out of their home. They're not betting the farm. They're not doing a cash deal. Nobody does that, even if they had millions in the bank, right? Because that's not what smart business people do. They're going to, in today's climate, be required to at least come to the table with a 30% of their total investment. And then the delta can be covered by multiple or a single source. A lot of corporate executives also who have been furloughed and laid off and positions diminished with, after even being there for 20 years, poof, I'm sorry, position's gone now. They are going, you know what, screw this. I'm going to work with Careyann. I'm going to be the boss. I'm going to build my own asset. I'm going to build my own winning culture and my own team. And I'm going to have an amazing opportunity for people to come and work for me. And I'm not going to treat them like crap, right? I mean, they're really angry and they have this huge desire for doing this. And they can utilize their 401k. You can borrow from your 401k tax-free and penalty-free to use those dollars to purchase a business, and in some cases even pay a salary for yourself. So yes, when people look at what their 401k is doing and then they start running the performance, the numbers on these franchises, it becomes a no-brainer, right? We're not saying cash out your entire retirement. No, we're saying use maybe a portion of that along with the home equity line, or along with the small business loan, or along with some cash and saving. You know, there are how many ways to skin a cat, right? So, but I connect people to the very top number 1 and number 2 funding vendors for franchising. Anyone that's buying a franchise is talking to these people, and they're helping them get pre-qualified and giving them the best funding solutions, because it's all about becoming an educated prospective buyer. And
Right.
funny how money comes into the equation when we're talking about possibly investing in a franchise, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, I love everything you said, and it's just expanded my mind so much in today's climate. What is possible for normal people like me? So
Yeah.
thank you for,
Anybody.
yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
So how can our listeners find you?
Yes. So they can visit franchise-logic.com. That is my website. There's all kinds of free downloads on there. So feel free to grab them all, or grab 1 or 2. There's a schedule link on there as well. You know, if you've always thought, I've always thought about buying a franchise or looking at franchises, or I've always wanted to be my own boss, just schedule 15 minutes on my calendar. We can answer any questions that you have, and help you determine if franchising's even the right path to explore. Here's the deal. Don't be afraid that you don't know what kinds of questions to ask. Just have a free-flowing conversation, because you just never know what might come out of it. And it's free, it's complimentary. And if you decide to work with me, it's complimentary, and you're going to learn a lot. And who doesn't have some extra time on their hands to really kind of focus on tomorrow, on their future? So,
Beautiful.
yeah.
Well, Careyann, thank you so much for myth busting with me today.
Oh, it was so fun, Michelle. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll see you next time.
Okay, bye-bye.